Hello and welcome back to the Watford Way this evening for a very special transfer update. So much going on in the last 24 hours or so with Watford. I'm struggling to keep up. We also may be joined by a special guest from Italia in about 10 minutes time, which I'm looking forward to. But to start with, we're joined by Ned West from the Yellow Squared podcast. Ned, I hope you've been keeping tabs with all things Watford this summer. How have things been over there?
Yeah, it's been really good. We have, over the past few seasons, have traditionally had like a proper break in between the season finishing and the next one starting. But we thought we'd do something a bit different this year. And because there's been so much going on, we've loved checking in every now and again with a little bonus podcast. And yeah, it's been quite busy on our side, but not as busy as you, mate.
Oh, I know it's been taking up so much of my time, but I have to say the transfer window is my favourite time of year. I've almost pretended to be like a mini Fabrizio Romano in the past couple of weeks. So I've really enjoyed it. I can see an Italian man in the studio right now, so we'll add him in just a moment. But we are going to be starting with Netor Irankunda, and Luca Bendoni has been on this story. The Bombers in the past few days have been amazing. So we'll add Luca into the stream now. Luca Bendoni from Sky Sports. Hello, welcome. How are you, Luca?
Hi, guys. Thank you very much. I'm very well. And you? All good?
All good, Luca.
Great,
all good. So, Netor Irankunda, this deal has really only developed in the past 24 hours or so. When did you first learn of Watford's interest in Netor? Have we been monitoring him for quite a substantial period of time, or has he emerged as a very recent target in the past few days?
Now, what I can tell you, and it's an interesting backstory, Watford have been following Netor for 6 months, and have been working on this deal for 6 months with no stop. He was first target. It's not just a target as a winger. It's just a project, to be honest. It's something more than just a signing. It's a statement by Watford and directorship and the ownership signing such a player and such a talent on a permanent deal. So 6 months of work now are set to be completed because the deal is done and the player is due to arrive in a couple of hours in the UK. He will land tonight. He will undergo a medical tomorrow morning and then sign a 5-year deal, from my understanding, not 4, but 5-year deal at the club tomorrow afternoon. I don't know about the announcement, where it will be, when it will be, if it will be in the next days or it will take something more, maybe due to visa or whatever else. But he will be a Watford player, 99.9% completed at this stage. He will jump on a plane very soon. I think he's already maybe on the plane to the UK, and so he will be a Watford player, and it's such a good story for you.
Absolutely, Luca. And I want to ask you as well about the finer details, because Fabrizio Romano originally broke the story before you come in with some additional information. Fabri said at the start, Luca, it was going to be a loan deal initially. Were Watford considering that first and then it changed to a permanent transfer? Or from your understanding, has it always been the intention from Watford's side to secure Netor on a permanent deal?
I think it was an original plan to secure him on a permanent, and that's why they've worked so hard and for so long on this deal as a possibility, and now as something that will be done. The deal is agreed between clubs after a bid that was sent in the last, I think, 48 hours, worth in the region of 3 million for the initial 50% of the player's right. Then Watford, it's a complicated bid structure, as I tried to explain on social media, on X in particular. I said that the offer includes possibility for Watford to buy further percentages of his rights. I don't know the specific details, I can suppose, but it's just an example. I don't take the fees, don't take the figures. It's just an example. Let's say 2 million for a further 20%, other 2 million for a further 20%, something like this, okay? I don't know until how much they can go. And I don't know the value of the buyback clause, but there will be a buyback clause for Bayern Munich because they don't want to lose control on such a talent, or at least total control. So either they will have a sell-on clause or a buyback option when Netor is sold. So either they buy him back, or if Watford sells him to another club, they get some money on the transfer. So that's the situation. That's the thing. It's a structure that is not easy to explain, but that's how it works.
And does this affect, Luca, Watford's ambition to also go after Papa Diallo from Metz, or do the club view them as separate deals? Are the club very much still going after Papa Diallo? And if they are, what is the delay in securing Diallo to Watford?
So Diallo will be an August deal, from my understanding. It's not just Watford. There is also Norwich, for example. There are multiple clubs that are working to sign him. It's true what my colleague Anthony Joseph provided on Norwich interest in him, and it will be an August thing due to some timing issues and bureaucratic reason, basically. So it's not something imminent in terms of deciding whether it will be Norwich or Watford or any other club. But Watford are still confident to get him, are still working to get him. The talks are progressing, and let's see, because now Watford shifted their total focus to secure and complete this deal of Netor Irankunda, that it's a massive signing for Watford, and now let's see if they can try to get another one, but they are not alternative. So Irankunda doesn't mean that Watford are stopping on Diallo. They will keep going, they will keep trying, but for the moment they have secured one of the most interesting talents around.
And Ned, do you have any questions to pose to Luca?
Oh, yeah, it's more to do with the sell on, the fee, the sell on clause, the 50%. They want, obviously Bayern are still interested in keeping tabs on Irankunda's progress. So is there anything from their side that's like a bit reluctant in the deal? Is that why it's taken maybe a bit longer than the 6 months? Was the initial plan for January, or has it always been for this summer?
To be honest, I don't know if Watford already thought about it in January. He was already on loan out from Bayern in Switzerland. So, but I know that Watford appreciate him as a player, and Bayern don't want either to lose control on him because they understand how much his potential may be worth. And so that's, I think, a good deal for all parties involved. The player will get to play in the Championship, so a very good league, I think, for his playing style. Also, he's explosive player, he's a fast player, good technique. So I think he would be a good fit for the Championship as a league, and he get to play regularly on paper at least. Then you have to prove yourself in training and everything, but on paper he's a starter. And for Bayern, if he does well, they can buy him back, or they can either, if not buy back, have some percentages of his sale. And for Watford, they have a top talent, and they get to own this talent. So good deal for all parties. And let's see if we can get some more details about especially the buyback, but I don't think, because it's a dynamic buyback in my opinion. So like 1 year it's worth something, then the other year it's worth something more. It depends also on how much percentages Watford buys. So if we can get some more details, we will provide them. Otherwise, I'd say to Watford fans to enjoy this massive deal.
We will very much enjoy Netor, Luca. I know Fabrizio said that Bayern might have the right to first refusal if Watford receive an offer from another club in the future. Have you heard similar, or not really at the moment?
I didn't hear something like this, but it would make sense at least.
And finally, Luca, before you go, I know you're on holiday with your family, so
I'm on holiday. That's why I got this location that a little bit, strange.
Are you anywhere nice, Luca? Are you near the sea? Are you near a beach? Where are you?
Yeah, I'm near the beach. Who's calling me?
Oh, I think Luca's receiving a call.
Agent. So I have to call him back. Agent that is doing a deal, not at Watford. It's Italian thing. So
can we ask you one more question, Luca?
Yeah, one more, guys. Yeah.
Luca Kjerrumgaard, the Danish striker, Watford are set to announce soon. Was he identified as our main striker target this summer? It seems like Watford were really intent on bringing him to the club.
He was the main striker, yeah. And he will be a Watford player, even if there may be something with Udinese, but it's a Watford signing, 100%.
Fantastic,
bye, guys.
Luca.
Sorry, I have
we
to
appreciate your time. Bye-bye.
Ciao, guys.
Wow, Ned, interesting stuff from Luca. I tell you, I think my biggest takeaway there actually was that Watford have been trying to complete this deal for Netor for 6 months since January. Isn't that? That's an incredible revelation there.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting in particular. I know that he's obviously spent the last season, I believe, at a club called Grasshoppers or something like that.
Yes.
A lot of people were saying, he obviously came through when he was very young in the A League, and a lot of people were saying that it wasn't the best loan spell. He didn't really perform that well. So it's interesting. I think if we're serious about a project, and serious about promotion, these are the kind of signings that we need to be finalizing, getting over the line. And I'm impressed that we've been looking at him for such a long time. It suggests to me it's more of a sensible transfer. It's not just he used to be the next big thing. We'll get him while we can. So I'm impressed by that, and hopefully he can repay that trust that we've had in him.
I liked your question as well about the 50% sell-on, because I think for me, and I talked about this in my YouTube video earlier, I think when Watford are negotiating with a big club for a young talent like this, there has to be a compromise from our side. And it seems like the 50% sell-on, the right of first refusal, it seems like these are things Watford, as the smaller club, have had to agree to get this deal over the line. Would you agree with that sentiment?
Yeah. It surprised me that Bayern would let somebody like that go for such a small fee. So I'm not really surprised that there's so many sort of conditions that go along with it. It's a shame Luca's gone, because I'd love to be able to ask him if if we decide to sell more players in the window, does that have an impact? Will we be able to pay more towards Bayern in this window if we can, or is that in the future? And how much does that take off this sell-on clause, which I think is the most interesting part of the deal? But yeah, if you said it was a dynamic sell-on clause, so I've never come across one of those.
Yeah, as you say, it's something I've not come across in football before. Maybe it means, I don't know, this is just an example, but if Watford paid Bayern Munich £5 million in January, we could take off, I don't know, 10% of that 50%.
Yeah.
Who knows? It's obviously just us speculating, but as you say, it's something I've never really seen before in a deal. But it's quite clever if it lets Watford be able to secure a player of this caliber.
Yeah,
I did see a few Australian fans, Ned, speaking about Irankunda's attitude, and apparently he might have a big ego and he's got some issues kind of restraining that. For me, I think we shouldn't judge that until a player's kicked a ball for Watford. I think Emmanuel Dennis, Ned, was tarnished with that same brush, and he turned out to be a fantastic signing for us by all accounts. So I don't think we should worry too much when it comes to his attitude potentially.
No, I don't think so either. There's been so many players at Watford recently that have been sort of brandished with this terrible attitude. Dennis, Loser, all those kind of players, and they've obviously gone on to do great things for Watford, and hopefully Loser will be around to do great things this season. But yeah, I think it's a bit unfair to label somebody with something like that before they've even stepped into London Colney. So hopefully it's not a problem, but I don't think there's too much to look into of that.
Before we move on to our next player we're going to be discussing today, have you had the chance, Ned, to go and watch some highlights of Nestory's on YouTube, on Twitter? Because the guy has an absolute rocket of a right foot. My goodness, I don't think I've ever seen someone strike a ball so cleanly. He looks absolutely insane. He's unbelievable from at least the highlights we've seen anyway.
Yeah, it's just pace and power, isn't it? I'm so excited to see what he can do in the Championship. He looked like he ripped it up in the A-League. Can score a free kick as well. I've seen a few of those. So that's great. If we can finally have someone who will score some free kicks again. But yeah, really, really dangerous. We saw how little defenders could deal with Kwadwo Bar. So if we've got another one of those players in our attacking lines, it could be very dangerous for Championship teams this season.
And where do you think he will play? Because he does primarily play as a right winger. And of course, Kwadwo Bar does have that side nailed down. So do you think Bar could move over to the left? Or do you think Imran Kuda could, play on both sides? It's an interesting one to see how Paolo's going to set up the team.
Yes. Well, these are the problems that you love to have, aren't they? Trying to fit in some really great players into the side. Yeah, it's difficult. I don't think the experiment with Bar on the left or Bar through the middle worked particularly well last season. So I think his best side is definitely on that right, and you think maybe Irankunda can fit across on the left, or one of them could become an impact sub or something like that. Hopefully that doesn't happen, because I think I'd love to see them both play as many minutes as possible. But if Irankunda can go across to the left, then I think that's a win-win for everyone involved.
It's so exciting. We've got Vata, Georgie, Bar, Mamaned has just signed as well. The club looking to keep him around, it seems, for the season as well. So I think a lot of negativity from the Cleverley sacking, and rightly so. There was of course negativity surrounding that, but there's no denying that Gino Pozzo has done so far fantastic work this transfer window. And I think for me, when the club gets stuff wrong, we have to rightly critique them. Equally, when they get things right, we have to praise them. So great work by Watford this transfer window. Another position we're apparently interested in, Ned, is centre-back. I saw Luon's report that we're interested in a centre-back potentially towards the end of the window. The Watford Observer running with the same message. And the first real name we've been told at the moment is Xavier Mbuyamba. This is a Dutch defender from Volendam in the Eredivisie. He's a 23-year-old right-footed centre-back, 6'3", Celtic and Sampdoria, keen alongside Southampton. This is an interesting one. I've never heard of him up until about a day or so ago, Ned. I think for me, the priority would be a left-footed defender, because I think that's something we lack. Just judging by what I've just told you, is that something you'd be interested in doing? I mean, the age and general profile of the player seems interesting. I think Fabrizio reported the fee would be about £500,000. So is that position you personally would go after this window?
I mean, if you think about, obviously we've lost Serralta. It's highly likely that we'll lose another centre back. Porteous might go. That it's an area that we can't sniff at having extra reinforcements there. The depth is what really killed us last season. And if we can pick somebody like this up, quite young, very, very well built, by the looks of some of the footage I've had a look at, it's nothing that I can say is a bad signing. €500,000 is relatively a low fee for somebody like that. Last year of a contract, it says that Volendam are keen to cash in. So more often than not, you can sort of put any sort of sum in, and those clubs will be happy to take whatever if they know he's got 1 year left. It's interesting you mentioned left-footed centre-back. I would prefer to have one of those. Just thinking about the options we've got, there isn't really one that can play as the left-footed in the left-footed
certainly
role,
not Antonio Tikvic anyway, in my opinion.
Well, he's another one that might be on the way out as well. So I think if you're looking at it from the depth perspective in the squad, and just judging by the sort of caliber of clubs that are also linked to him, clearly this bloke's got something about him. Not the left-footed centre-back I was hoping for in this window, but it looks like another sensible signing, which is getting scary now, James, the amount of sensible deals we're doing.
I know. It's really refreshing to see, actually. Another sensible signing there that we just spoke to Luca about actually before he had to leave is Luca Kjerrumgaard. I believe I've got that pronunciation correct. Now, this is one that I found really interesting, because after the saga of Netor Irankunda and how he performed at Watford, I didn't think personally we would go back into the Danish leagues, and it seems like our marquee striker signing will be exactly that. Is a 22-year-old 6'3" left-footed striker. Is adept at using his head and right foot quite comfortably as well. He scored 22 goals for Odense Bold Club last season as well in the Danish second division. By the way, a weird fact here, the Danish second division is actually called the first division, and then the first division is called the Superliga. So very confusing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Luca Kjerrumgaard, Ned, this is a really intriguing prospect. Of course, we have Vivaldo Semedo and Mamadou Doumbia at the club already. Did you expect Watford to go back into the Danish league for kind of our big marquee statement striker signing, or has this kind of come out of the blue for you?
I knew it'd be in the market. We had to be in the market for a striker. The thing with, going back into the Danish league, obviously you can look at Rajovic and go, well, it didn't really work out. But from what I've seen from this lad, it looks like a lot of the goals he's scoring is very transferable. I know a lot of question marks will be over the standard. It's the second division in Denmark. It's obviously not going to be quite at the same level that the championship is. But a lot of the goals he's scoring, a lot of the skills he possesses and where he excels on the pitch seem to be like very transferable areas. It's all within the 18-yard box, lots of different types of finishes. So yes, I'm excited by this. I wasn't expecting us to go back to Denmark, to answer your question. But look, it looks like we found a good player, and 22 goals last season is nothing to sniff at in any league. So yeah, impressed.
Absolutely not. I think for me, the comparison I could make is Vincent Gyökeres from Sporting. I don't know if that's quite the right comparison, but in terms of a physical presence, kind of the finishes he has as well, really powerful curled finishes into the corners. I think, as you say, he looks like a decent prospect. I think for me, it's just the really the level he's playing at currently and whether that's transferable to the championship. But hopefully we can trust our Watford scouts in this situation, and hopefully he'll turn out to be a really good acquisition. I think as well, Ned, the question here is, and Luca alluded to it as well, it seems like this is going via Udinese and then to Watford, with us then buying him next year. Is that, do you reckon, to circumvent some sort of financial issue, or what do you think the reasoning for that is?
It probably is to do with some sort of finances, whether we have enough money to put up front for the deal. It could be a number of things, because we've had so many transfers come through Udinese in the past for various different reasons. It's one of those that this is a kind of signing where you're thinking, why have the talks with Udinese and the new investors been stalling? Why does, the Gino want to have still some sort of say in the transfers? And I think this is the reason why. So we can still sort of do this sort of thing and be very competitive in the market, even though we're not, that liquid with the amount of money that we've got. So yeah, I think that's probably the main reason it's going through Udinese. But yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? It looks like he will be a Watford player for his whole career. He's not going to Udinese at any point. Looks like it's a loan, and then it will turn permanent next summer, regardless of what we do, which is the big thing as far as I'm concerned, because I was a bit worried it would be loan. If we don't get promoted, then he might just go back to Udinese or disappear quietly like so many of those other signings.
Yeah, as you say, it does seem that way. And I think for me, I know a lot of people criticise the Udinese relationship, and it's quite controversial in the footballing world. But if it does allow us to bring in players like Luca who have the ability to flourish in the championship, then to be honest, I'm all for it, why we still have that connection available. And as you say, Ned, the talks do seem to have stalled somewhat between Guggenheim Partners and Gino Pozzo. So we'll have to see what happens with the Udinese sale. But as Ned said, Luca Kjerrumgaard, it's coming via Udinese, signing for us on loan, and then it seems like Watford have an obligation to buy next summer, according to various reports. So one to keep an eye on. I believe he's had his medical already, so I would expect that maybe to be announced even tonight, maybe tomorrow. We'll have to wait and see. Lots going on around the club at the moment. Another quite high-profile player we've been heavily linked with, and again, we spoke about it briefly with Luca Bendoni there. Papa Diallo, Ned. I know you and your brother James spoke about this at length in your recent podcast, actually. Again, a really exciting winger, Senegalese, same nationality as Ismail Assar, which is pretty cool as well. It seems like, though, according to some reports that emerged yesterday, the issue with Diallo is essentially the ESC slots that Watford have available and us being able to register foreign players. Is this a deal that you think Watford could potentially get over the line? Because if we secure Diallo and Irankunda as well, that has to go down as one of the all-timer Pozzo transfer windows.
Yeah, I think if both of those go through, people are going to start seriously talking, and maybe they might actually take us a bit more seriously this season. The problem I've got is, we know there are other clubs sniffing around. We know Norwich have been trying to hijack the deal for ages. And if we are waiting around for, I think we were talking just before we went live, and you said about he has to be on the bench or something for one Ligue 1 game to get enough points to be able to move to Watford. So it's whether Mets want to go through all that. And I don't know if it's applying as well to Norwich. Or any of the other teams that are sniffing around, but that's my only issue. It's a difficult one, because if we can pull off both, that is massive. But it's just whether the player and the agent are interested in waiting around to see what happens almost.
Yeah, as you say, I alluded to it before me and Ned started this live stream, actually, and I could have got this totally wrong. I'm not an expert on these things by all means, but reading a few threads on Twitter yesterday, it seems like essentially Watford, as it stands, do not have any ESC slots available. And these are slots you use to register foreign players. Another way we can sign foreign players is something called GBE points or GBE requirements. And I believe, as I just said to Ned, if Diallo makes an appearance in a Ligue 1 squad, whether that's on the bench or starting, he then has enough points to sign for Watford, regardless of our situation with these ESC slots. So I believe that's the current situation. As I said, I could have got that totally wrong, but it's certainly interesting. I mean, Luca there seemed, I wouldn't say really confident, but he definitely didn't rule the deal out at all.
No. He seemed very confident that it would happen in August. So yeah, it will be very interesting to see how that develops. But at the moment, it's definitely promising that, the hijacking from Norwich has been unsuccessful. The only question I had to you, James, about this deal was that, if talks between us and Mets are sort of stalling, or between the agent were stalling because there was interest from other clubs, is that the sort of player that you'd be happy with bringing into Watford? Or is it, it's a bit sticky, isn't it? Because a player that could be easily swayed by perhaps more money, or being able to get a deal over the line soon, or an agent that's, pressing for more money. Is that the sort of player that you'd want to come to Watford?
It's an interesting question, isn't it? I think we've seen with Irankunda, for example, that he's also apparently had a lot of interest from other clubs, but it seems like he's been totally committed to the Watford project from the get-go. Yeah. Whereas here, you would think that a story would have emerged that would have said, I don't know, Papa Diallo wants to join Watford. He's waiting until August the 1st, etc., etc. I think the longer it goes on for me, the more likely it is that Norwich will probably secure this deal. In answer to your question, do I want a player who is hesitant to join? Probably not. And I feel like we're already quite stacked in them wide areas anyway. Don't get me wrong. I would welcome Papa Diallo. He seems like a player of immense potential and immense quality. But if someone's not totally committed to the project and doesn't want to stay here long term, probably not for me. What do you think about that? I assume you're echoing the same thoughts.
Yeah, I'm sort of on the same page. I think it's been interesting. So many of the signings so far have been so interested in the project more than anything else, which is interesting with our track record of managers. But clearly, the Pozzos and a lot of these players that are coming in the squad, And the people that have been so heavily linked with moves away and of saying that they want to stay. I think people are very much believing in the project this season. And if a player's not into that and they're not committed to that, like you said, why wouldn't you come out and say, I want to go to Watford, I'm happy to wait? Or, I mean, I know it can be quite hush-hush with these things, but it's I'm in the same camp as you. I'd prefer a player to show a bit of loyalty and a bit of, be a bit more outspoken about who they'd prefer to join.
Question from James here. He says, Ned, for what reason exactly would Diallo have more loyalty to Watford than Norwich? I think for me, Ned, a lot of it goes into the area Watford are in, the attraction of London for youngsters. I don't think that can be overlooked at all. So I think for me, if he's not convinced by that and our general project, by all means, go to Norwich, live in the countryside with a load of sheep. It doesn't bother me too much, to be honest with you. So, yeah, interesting. James also saying Rajovic leaving might open up the possibility now for Diallo to come. I believe that's in reference to the ESC slots, which again confuses my mind somewhat. As I said, I'm not an expert.
It's one for the FM players out there, mate.
Yes, absolutely. Big up Football Manager, by the way. Great game. Brian. Hi, James, Ned. How are you both? We're all good, Ryan. Thank you for watching. So many of you in the live stream today, nearly 70 concurrent viewers at one point, which is absolutely fantastic support. So I appreciate everyone tuning in. Just before we went live, Ned, Watford posted you could argue sad news. For some people, it might be sad. For others, it might be delight. Netor Irankunda. I really want to get your thoughts on this, actually. Signing for Legia Warsaw for a Polish league record fee, Ned. I mean, that is incredible business from Watford's perspective. Are you personally sad to see Rajovic leave? Or actually, given how Paolo wants to play, I think it's the right decision for all parties, isn't it?
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. If you look at the way Paolo's set his team up in the past, it's very high intensity, high press. And Rajovic just isn't the most mobile of strikers, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying that. Obviously, he came in. Did he get double figures in his first season?
I think he got just about 11 league goals.
Yeah. So he scored a few goals. I can't say I missed him last season. So it's not one of those sales that I'm sitting here like completely heartbroken. It's just one of those where I'm just saying it's good business from us, and I wish him all the best.
Let me ask you a question: Netor Irankunda or Vacuum Bayo? Who would you prefer?
Oh my goodness. It would have to be Rajovic. I think it would have to be Rajovic. At least he can hit the net.
Yeah, I think for me, Rajovic generally had his use cases. They were very specific in that, if Watford were chasing a lead 5 to 10 minutes into a game, lumping balls and crosses into the box, I think is where he had his best moments, really. I remember a late winner at home to Birmingham City a couple of years ago, the goal away at Millwall as well. The scenes in the away end looked absolutely fantastic. So, yeah, for me, Rajovic leaving to Legia Warsaw, €3 million, great business by Watford. I think the Watford Observer said we doubled our money on Rajovic, which is an incredible bit of business. So for me, look, I'm glad he's gone, clearly, but I wish him all the best. Seems like a lovely person, and hopefully he tears up the Polish league as well. Caleb Wiley, Ned. I thought I'd bring this up because it feels like this deal has been done for what seems like a couple of months, yet we haven't heard any sort of announcement or confirmation from Watford. Firstly, what are your thoughts on Caleb Wiley returning? And what do you think the hold-up is in regards to the announcement?
Yeah, so we spoke about this on our most recent podcast and the one before that. That's how long this deal's been going on for. I'm excited to see him come back. I liked him when he was with us, when he was fit, and I thought he would fit perfectly for another season. As to why the deal's been going on for so long, I believe that Chelsea being at the Club World Cups has had an impact on particularly their movements in the window, especially their, the players departing. So I think once they're all back from that and they get straight into pre-season, I think a lot of departures will begin to happen from Chelsea, and I wouldn't be surprised if Wiley's announced fairly quickly. It's been going on for a while, but I'm happy to see him come back. It's the pair of loans between Abanko and Wiley was something that we earmarked in our keep, buy, sell from the squad from this season. We wanted both of them to come back, and it looks like they both will. So yeah, very happy.
And in terms of strength and depth in that left back role, it feels like this is the strongest it's been for a while. Mark Bowler, Caleb Wiley, James Morris, you could argue as well, can play there if needed. So I feel like that's one of the strongest areas of the squad, and it's very refreshing after having to watch the likes of Jamal Lewis and Yasser Larouchi in the past couple of seasons.
Yeah, it definitely is. And we've always spoken about, competition for places all over the pitch. We know we struggled in the goalkeeping area, but I think the past season it was the fullback area, because we know there were certain players that were not performing, but there was just simply nobody else. So having Wiley and Mark Boller, Ngakia can play out on the left if he's pressed to. Obviously, you mentioned James Morris as well. So I just think having so many players competing for the same spot will only push them to grow as players. It'd be interesting to see, though, what the Wiley deal is like. I know that sort of information is not really released, but I'll be interested to see if he's got to start a certain number of games or play a certain number of games, because I'd be interested to see how Mark Boller would react after leaving, European football to come to the Championship. So interesting on that.
Absolutely. Question from Charlotte Ned. Any news on Porteous's plans for the future? If he does go, would look a little bit like at centre back. I think we kind of alluded to this earlier. I think there was a link earlier in the window actually with Porteous potentially returning to Hibernian, if I'm correct in saying that.
Yeah,
so
I heard that.
Would you expect him to leave, Ned? It seems like he would, although Paolo might like how aggressive he is from the back. We don't know, obviously, how Paolo's perceiving these players in training.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. Clearly fell out of favour in terms of being the starting centre-back while under Cleverley. We know he's a bit erratic, so we don't know if Petzolano likes somebody like that at the back. But I think the important thing is it's what Porteous wants, really, at the end of the day. If he's hungry to play first team minutes and start games, I wouldn't be surprised if he does move on. I agree with the comment that we might look a little bit light if Porteous does go as well, because we know Titovic has been linked away from Watford. Obviously, Serrata's moved on, which is why I think we're now looking in the market for players like Mbuyamba and those other centre-backs. It's an interesting one. I would be surprised if we let him go before signing another centre-back. Okay. I wouldn't be too surprised if he does move on.
I totally agree. James with a question about our right back situation. Now, I've said to you and James, your brother Ned, that I would like to see Joao Ferreira stay. I don't believe he's really been involved in the first two pre-season games yet, which if he does leave, would leave Ryan Andrews and Jeremy Ngakia in that position. Is that strong enough for you for a team fighting for promotion? Or if we did have the funds available, is that an area you would look to strengthen, if possible, by maybe sending Ryan Andrews out on loan, cashing in on Ngakia? Is that something you'd like to see happen if we have the ability to do so?
Yes, it would be. Yeah, I think Ryan Andrews would massively benefit from a season out on loan. Clearly struggled towards the end of last season, and it's keeping Ngakia fit, which is the struggle, isn't it? Almost every season he's got an injury which keeps him out for a couple of months at a time. So if Ferreira moves on and we've got the funds available, even if we have to bring in a loan, I wouldn't be too disappointed with that. But yeah, I think unless Joao Ferreira has had a massive change of heart and about being at Watford, I would be very surprised if he doesn't move away.
I think he's got quite high value as well. He was playing Europa League football for Braga last season. So you would think if we do cash in, again, that's, more funds to add to potentially our transfer kitty or equally Gino's, bank balance. We don't know what Gino will do. But yeah, it's an interesting situation. And as you say, it looks like they're probably leaning more towards Joao Ferreira leaving the club rather than him staying. But in terms of other areas, Ned, you would look to strengthen. We've covered centre-back, the full-back areas. I think in attack, if we get Diallo as well, we look pretty stacked. For me, what I wanted to discuss with you was actually the midfield, because when you look at our starting midfield options, you can include Georgie, Luza, Duomo, Cipriano, but outside of them starting options, you've got Kayembe, Sissoko, and Tom Deli Bishiru. And Tom Deli has been linked with a move away to Parma as well. So as them backup options, again, if you did have the option to maybe move a Musa or Kayembe on, would you choose to take up the opportunity? And are there any midfielders actually out there you would look to bring in if you were the Watford owner?
I think as far as the Championship goes, having players like Tom Deli, Kayembe, even Sissoko around is good enough for depth. I think we were close to competing right at the top end of the Championship last season with those players starting. I think the players you've mentioned as the starting options are more than good enough to get into the playoffs. It's just whether you want to try and cash in on maybe one or two of those players, but then it's who you bring in after that. Honestly, aside from Cipriano, I haven't really thought about another midfielder because I think we already had quite a lot. You think about those names you mentioned, that's already 7. So I think definitely some people would have to go out the other way before we looked at any more. But I guess the question back to you, I think this window has been great, not only for the incomings, but the deals we've been getting out of the club as well, and the money that we've been making as well. If we can make some money off Kayembe or a Deli Bashiru, how that money gets reinvested could be pivotal in that midfield. But I think the options that we've got, particularly in the starting areas, are more than good enough. And to answer your question, sorry, it's very long-winded. I think the players we've got at the club at the moment in the midfield areas are good enough. As far as depth options go, I certainly wouldn't be wincing if we had to bring on, Sissoko or Deli Bashiru.
I might, Ned. I'm not a huge Sissoko fan, but he's blocked me on Twitter, by the way. I don't know what I did to upset you, Musa, but I thought I'd bring that up again. I'm sorry. I don't know what I said. It's an interesting situation in midfield. I think for me that is probably is it bad to say it's our weakest area in terms of backup options? I don't know. I think centre back could rival that. Where do you think George's best role is in this team, Ned? Because Paulo, so far, it seems, and I've not attended any of the pre-season games, but from what everyone said, it seems like a 4-2-3-1 or primarily a 4-3-3 formation. Where does Georgie fit in? Can you see him playing maybe in the 3 in a more advanced role, or maybe similar to last season where he played out on that left-hand side? But because we have so much depth now out wide, I think George is really going to struggle to retain his place out there. So I think for me, his best position might be alongside the likes of Luza and Cipriano. What about you?
I agree. I think obviously we know he is so good out on that left, but you think about the names that we're bringing in, there's so much more depth this season. I think it would be difficult for him to maintain that week in, week out. It seems as though from what I've heard that Luz has been played a little bit further forward in the sort of the 2 pre-season friendlies we've already had. And obviously with the ability that Cipriano's got to be that base of midfield, obviously that's being allowed to happen. So it's whether you want Chakvetadze to be in that midfield with Cipriano, or you want him to be in the 10 Either way, I think it's got to be somewhere through the middle. Really utilize his ball carrying ability, because that's what he is so good at. And once he can, we know how much he loves to pass the ball and not shoot. Give it to one of the wide
Yes.
players that, can do that. And I think we'll be on to a real winner. But I think one of the positions through the middle is my answer to that.
Charlotte says, not a huge Sissoko fan either, James. Pollock for captain. We'll answer a couple more questions and I think we'll wrap up for this evening.
Yeah.
And on the captaincy, Ned, I think Sissoko captained Watford for one of the pre-season games. James Morris, surprisingly,
I saw that,
captained Watford for another. If we do retain the likes of Loser and Chatford-Atse and all these players, who would you make as Watford captain? Because for me, it's between Matty Pollock and Imran Loser. I don't think there should be any other real contenders for the role. Arguably Kyprianou, potentially, because he did that role at Peterborough, of course. But for me, Ned, it's between Loser and Pollock. And if I was to choose, it would have to be to Imran.
Oh, interesting. I would select Pollock. I don't think there's really another name for me in there that has shown the leadership qualities that I'd want as the captain of Watford. Obviously, I think Loser is a player with massive influence over the dressing room, but I just think how involved he gets in some of the games and how emotional he can get in some of the games, I don't think that's what you want as a club captain. Obviously, it's great to have in the team somebody who really plays with their heart on their sleeve and puts everything into the games. But I think it would have to be Pollock, because we've seen him in glimpses be that leader. Just to touch on Kyprianou, we know he's done it at Peterborough and did it well, but I think just coming into a completely new environment in a league above, I think you'd be asking a bit too much of him to instantly captain the side.
But on Pollock, though, my rebuttal to you would be, is he going to consistently start games? We know Paulo wants pace in his back line. If we see Kevin Caben and James Abankwah as the two starting centre-backs, if Matty isn't playing consistent football, do you still want him as your captain, or would you want someone who's featuring, game in, game out?
It's interesting. Definitely. Whether you'd look at someone else then, if Pollock is definitely not going to start. But if you're going to have a captain that isn't playing that many minutes, I don't know why you wouldn't then give it to one of the more experienced players in the dressing room who can do that sort of cleverly type captaincy. The season we got promoted, very much sort of on the sidelines, the club captain that never really stepped foot on the pitch, obviously due to injury, but really mentored a group of young players. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go with that sort of captain. I wouldn't be surprised if he keeps it with Sissoko. But if they're not looking to do that, then possibly I would have to agree with you that it would be Loser out on the pitch.
Okay, I've won you round there. I've won you round.
Didn't take much, mate.
I think we'll end with a question from your mate, Ben Slater, Ned.
Oh.
He says, do you guys reckon the young lads won't get a chance this year compared to last year under Cleverly? So Ben probably referring to the likes of Nabazada and Leo Ramirez-Espan. We saw them kind of emerge into that first team environment last season. Because of our clear goals and aspirations this season to achieve the playoffs and achieve promotion, is it for you unlikely then that we will see them integrated into the squad? The club actually announced James Claridge moving out on loan to Aldershot just before we went live. So in answer to Ben's question, for me, Ned, it does seem like this year, unfortunately, we may not see the integration we want from them young, talented academy players.
Yeah, it's definitely a frustrating situation to be in. We've spoken on the podcast before about how in the past, when we were beginning to be a bit more successful, it was almost like we completely abandoned the academy. And then once we were, in a bit of troubled situation last season, we began to rely on it a bit more. And then all of a sudden you've got like this really great group of players that sort of emerged out of nowhere almost. I think if we're serious about continuing to bring players through, we have to show there is a pathway to the first team. I wouldn't be surprised if players like Ramirez Espan or what's the young lad, the striker who came through right at the end of the season?
Nixon Ockerson.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if those guys or Messiah Edwards go out on loan. I think the one player that could burst in is Nabizada. I just think it would be crazy to let somebody like that go in and around the England team for his age group. He seems like a real talent that if we don't provide a pathway to, he could end up going for something cheap as chips, mate.
Yes, I think that is the major concern. But hopefully we'll achieve our goals this season, and then we can reintegrate them when we're balling out in the Premier League. Who knows? We can't predict that far ahead. I do want to ask you before we wrap up, Ned. Have you been watching the Club World Cup particularly at all? And you must have seen Joao Pedro for Chelsea. I mean, the impact he had. Talk to me, Ned. What a baller he is.
We said this 5 years ago and people weren't listening. It wasn't too long ago that he was being compared to the likes of Ndiaye and Jack Clark, and now he's scored 3 goals in the Club World Cup and took Chelsea to their first trophy not their first trophy in a long time, but because they obviously won the Conference League, but took them to glory, and some goals as well.
The Chits finish. Oh, it was sexy past Donnarumma as well. I mean, you have to say the PSG team, I was watching it myself actually. I didn't watch many of the Club World Cup games, especially early on, because I just wanted a break from football really. But I was quite disappointed with PSG in the final actually, Ned. They weren't quite what I expected them to be. I think Chelsea did, a great job on them. It
was weird, actually, going from how dominant they were in the Champions League final to whatever that was, losing 3-0 to Chelsea is, a bit of a weird drop-off. But, super impressed with Joao Pedro, and I'm so pleased for him that he's now showing the world what he can do. And those people that were laughing at us for saying he'd be the next big thing are sort of backtracking now.
Superb stuff. Right, we'll leave it there. It's been a very entertaining live stream, especially with Luca on in the first 10 minutes or so. So massive thank you to him. I should also have another interview with a Sky Sports journalist being released on the channel tomorrow. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Ned, thank you very much for coming on as always. I really appreciate your time. You're part of the Yellow Squared podcast with your brother, James. Talk to me a bit about that, what you've been doing so far in pre-season, your plans for the upcoming season, and where people can find you on social media.
Okay, well, we are the Yellow Squared podcast. So far this summer, we've been doing a trial run, if you will, of our first ever sort of off-season series. We're usually very rigid with this is going on during the season and then it ends and we have a break. But we've had so much fun in the past season. The support's been amazing. So we decided to carry on going, and we're heading into season 4 when the season starts. So we had a little rebrand, as we usually do for the start of the season. You can find us on all the social medias you can think of: Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and of course it's an audio exclusive podcast. There is no video, so you can find us on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, basically anywhere you want to download your podcast from, you can find us on there.
Super stuff. I'm also loving the retro kit you're wearing today. Now, I think someone in chat actually pointed that out earlier. Superb stuff from you.
The FA Cup final 1984 shirt. So thought I'd bring it out for Luca.
I'll tell you what, Luca actually wore an England shirt, a retro England shirt in the interview I did with him about a week ago. I think he said his dad gave it to him or something. So Luca's ball knowledge is absolutely
we'll have to send him one of these when he does the interviews.
Definitely. He did visit Watford last season actually. He come to I think it was Watford versus Hull. Like January or February. So hopefully I can catch Luca at Vicarage Road again this season. I keep waffling on. I've got one more question for you, Ned, and then I will finish off. The kit, the Watford kit. Now the away kit is due to be released this Friday, the 18th of July. The home kit, now you've seen it on the players in a couple of matches. Are you a fan? Are you not a fan? What's your kind of rating out of 10 you'd give? In fact, the unsponsored version and then the sponsored version. Let's go.
Yeah, it's a very different answer for both. I think I wasn't a fan at all, to be honest. Even the unsponsored one, but seeing it on the players, seeing the shorts and the socks genuinely have swayed me. It's 100% grown on me. So I'd probably give it a solid 6 or 7. And usually that's quite generous because usually I'm a big fan of what Kelme does. It was really interesting to listen to the From the Rookie End podcast with the guy that sort of goes through the design process and all that stuff. And so my respect for Kelme has gone up since listening to that. But the sponsor is awful. It is the worst sponsor I've seen in football for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And yeah, it probably takes it down to like a 3 out of 10 with that blue sponsor. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, James, and your thoughts on the lack of it being shown anywhere in any of the promotion of the kit from the club.
You know what? I actually low-key respect the Watford shithousery. I actually respect it so much because I love it. In every new signing, in every promotional video, even in the club shop, I believe as well, they're not displaying really any kits with the sponsor. Now, I'm sure Mr. Q are probably quite frustrated at that, but whoever kind of their marketing manager is, I'm kind of baffled by the decision because last season, you know, they were very much happy to have the black sponsor, and it looked really good on our kit last season actually. So I'm not quite sure what coffee they were drinking in the morning over at Mr. Q headquarters because it's a stinker this year. But as I said, Ned, I respect the shithousery from Watford when it comes
so petty. I love it. I love the little message they put out on Facebook saying if you want the sponsorless version, you can join the queue with just the letter Q and get that online, which I thought was great. I love the pettiness of it. I'll be surprised if we see Mr. Q next season.
Yes. All right, we will end it there. Thank you, Ned, for your time. Thank you, everyone,
thank you for
tuning in today. Probably our most popular stream ever, which is absolutely incredible. So I appreciate your support. Don't forget to subscribe to The Watford Way by clicking the big red button down below. You can also find us across all social platforms, including TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course back here on YouTube. And as I said, tomorrow morning or afternoon, I should have an exclusive interview with Anthony Joseph from Sky Sports News. So keep an eye out for that, and I'll see you guys again very soon. Bye-bye.
Take care, everybody.